Welcome. My name is Michael Voss, and I'm the Dean of Career and Technical Education at Mesa Community College. This short training is on the required occupational program elements, and so let's get started. To be in an occupational program at MCC, that program needs to demonstrate alignment with both the Carl Perkins and the National Center for Educational Statistics IPEDS definitions. It also needs to demonstrate alignment with the National Career Clusters Framework model. Some elements of an occupational program, assuming that it meets those definitions and framework, is that it provides a program vision and mission statement, that holds regular advisory committee meetings, that it offers a program that culminates with an AAS degree or a CCL, and those awards should have identified occupational SIP codes and SOC codes. It needs to offer a clearly sequenced set of courses. It needs some basic program overview information. And there needs to be evidence of program review analysis and strategic planning. So let's talk about a vision statement. A vision statement is that inspiration or framework which guides strategic planning. It answers the question, where do we want this program to go? It also needs to align with MCC's overarching vision of leading the way to success in our local and global community. Occupational programs also need a mission statement. And this describes what your program does and how and why it does it. It answers the question, why does this program exist? It does need to align with MCC's overarching mission to excel in teaching, learning, with a goal of empowering students to exceed in our local and global community. Very important that occupational programs have regular advisory committees. These need to meet at least annually. They may also convene additional working subcommittees. What is a advisory committee? It's basically the community of interest. It's those folks who would be interested in the workings and the outcomes of the program. So certainly when we talk about occupational, we're talking about a representative sample of local employers. It should also include current students, past graduates, and other stakeholders with an interest in the program. It must include feedback loops for the program to gather advice from the committee and develop action plans in response to the advice. So some of the best advisory committee meetings are structured sort of 50-50, about 50% informational, about 50% where the advisory members are taking ownership and evaluating the information provided and providing feedback. Occupational programs need to offer some sort of an AAS degree or a course completion certificate, and each one of those degrees and certificates will have a single occupational classification of instructional program or a SIP code. So that's one for one. Every degree, every CCL has one SIP code. And then each identified SIP code for those certificates and degrees may have one or more standard occupational classification codes or SOC codes. So one SIP code per degree or certificate, one or more SOC code per certificate or degree. The SOC codes, we need to really scrub that data. There's a lot of possible ones if you look out there for crosswalks. We need to choose those SOC codes that are limited to the likely next step career opportunities as a result of completing the occupational program study. We won't get into too much detail here, but the SIP codes in and of themselves really are the first indication of transferability, between one college and the next. And the SOC codes really is where wage and salary data comes from and where workforce demand comes from. So choosing the right occupations makes a big difference when we try to project things out like economic impact of our graduates. And again, we need to ensure that we have a clearly sequenced set of courses. We really should not be standing up a course list without any guidance on what the sequence should be. Every one of our occupational programs must demonstrate a sequence of courses, so term 1, term 2, term 3 sort of progression to meet the Perkins definition of career and technical education. In addition to that, there is some program overview information that defines a occupational program. They typically have a physical location with specialized instructional equipment and or labs. We want to describe the staffing of the program. We want to describe some of the student recruitment and marketing efforts. We want to really use that career clusters framework to define our dual enrollment partnerships with the secondary institutions and also describe concurrent enrollment. We want to have an overarching predominant instructional methodology, describe that if there is one, to say this program values team-based learning, or this program values active learning projects. So perhaps there's a common instructional thread that goes through the program. And then we probably also want to describe any course capacity limitations that may occur because of mandated student to instructor requirements or equipment to student ratio requirements. So there's a variety of things where a occupational program might have a little bit lower course capacity. When we look at program review, analysis, and strategic planning, we do need to make sure that our occupational programs have evidence that program review is happening. And that includes a routine analysis of program effectiveness data. We work closely with our institutional effectiveness office to look at demographic data, other data points, so we kind of have a apples to apples comparison. We need to have a systematic program level plan to assess student learning. At this college, that involves an assessment of the 4 C's. We need to have routine strategic planning like a SWOT or SOAR analysis. And then finally, we need to have strategic initiatives for continuous improvement of the program, so some sort of program plan which integrates with the department planning process. So again, that's an overview of basically the required elements of program review. There may be other optional requirements depending on is the program accredited, do they have transfer articulation agreements, so on and so forth. But that covers the basics of what is involved in a program and what might be reviewed when you're looking at a program. Again, if there's any questions, don't hesitate to give me a call or shoot me an email. And thank you very much for your time.